The closer you get to the finish line, the harder the battle becomes to get through it. But we know one thing about this Cleveland Guardians team. They will not give up, and they will not back down from a challenge.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into another episode of Locked On Guardians. Take a quick breath because it's going to be an intense weekend. Calm yourself, and thank you for being here with us to talk about it all. The only daily Cleveland Guardians podcast covering your still first place Cleveland Guardians from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. And we do it here every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, your first place Cleveland Guardians every single day. I'm Justin Lada, one of your two co-hosts. I've been co-hosting the show, my friend Jeff Ellis, for the last 2 years, and I've spent 18 years covering the Cleveland Guardians minor league system.
As you mentioned, I am Jeff Ellis. This is the Bradley Dino, who's now 21-7. So one loss, you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. It's one loss. No team goes undefeated. And as I said at the beginning of the year, you keep winning series, you make the postseason. And that's all they got to do right now. Win one more series, and they make the postseason. True words from May, true words now. As I said, I'm Jeff Ellis. I've been here since the beginning of this podcast. Before that, I was a national writer at Scout and 24/7, focused on prospects and the draft. I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you podcast. It's end of the week, people. Shout out to Adela Masood, a Guardians fan in Saudi Arabia. Shout out to RB7738, another one of our everydayers. And I want to give credit to Disc Golf Dom, who's been someone who is one of our everydayers. I didn't fact check this, but I'm going to throw out his stat because I thought it was pretty cool. But by his count, leading into today's game, they'd only trailed for 11 innings since September 3rd. It's, your intro made me think, would you say that this team is headstrong to take on anyone?
Oh, geez. There's a throwback right there. Comment below if you get that reference. I certainly do. I got some good stories about that one. Let's get into the show, then. Before we got to talk about the Guardians and Rangers series ahead. We'll give you some keys, some things that need to happen in this series. We'll break down the Rangers. We'll talk about how the offense needs to step up overall as part of it. And the first thing we're going to touch on today, though, is not to panic, because we know this team also is not going to panic or back down. Before we get moving, though, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, if you're a new customer, bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Yes, let's start there for a second. I said this on the postgame reaction. This loss is no different than the 72 that came before it. Yes. There's been a lot of losses this year that we can look back on and we could say, ooh, that one really hurts. Would like to have that back, including the 10-game losing streak, because we've said multiple times, and the 1-9 stretch too.
Yeah, that St. Louis game is the one that stands out to me.
There's a lot. And you could say, well, if they would have went, instead of 1-19, that 20-game stretch, if they go 6-14, we're not even worried about it. The Guardians have already clinched the division at this point. And a lot of what's happened right here has the Guardians have put pressure on the Tigers, and the Tigers have felt a lot of that pressure and have fallen off. And they're still a good team. This is still the same team that was very good in the first half. You knew they weren't going to roll over and just give up, and things were going to even out at some point. So this loss is no different than it was in May. The only difference is it was on the calendar on September 25th. That happens to be 4 days before the end of the season, as you're trying to finish off this miraculous comeback to make the playoffs. So that's why it feels worse. That being said, given where the Guardians have been this year, I'm not at all worried. If they take care of business this weekend, like you said, the same as in May as it is now. If you take 2 or 3, things are all taken care of. And let's not forget, I know the Guardians got swept by the Rangers in Texas, but this is not the same team that played them in Texas. It's not the same Rangers team now that was in Texas. And, at the end of the day, when you put all the chips on the table, I would rather be playing Texas at home than playing Boston in Fenway. Fenway Park is very hard to play in.
Yes.
It's a difficult stadium. The Red Sox are playing a little bit better recently. That's why they're still the second wild card. And Garrett Crochet is going to go this weekend for them. I think Connor Early's pitching, who's been really good since he's come up. That Red Sox bullpen is really good, as we know. So the Guardians have the better setup here. It's just going to be a matter of taking care of business. So if you're out there saying, oh, man, I don't like this, I don't love it either. I would have rather beaten Detroit too. But the Guardians are in a good position. They control their own destiny. And given where this team has been this year, I don't really feel like this is going to be a loss where you think that, oh, they're going to get tight, they're going to get worried. What's going to happen is what's going to happen. They're going to keep the same resolve, the same composure, the same things they've stuck to that got them here. They're going to stick to that this weekend.
Yeah, I was looking at things. They might not have Garrett Crochet pitching this weekend because they may not need him. They might be saving him. So I think it's going to be...
That's true. Okay,
it's going to be
right.
Conley, Early, Lucas Giolito, who's done okay.
Kyle Harrison.
And then Kyle Harrison, who's actually done pretty well for them. Like,
the thing I don't like about that, though, is Connor Early and Kyle Harrison are both lefties. Yes. And the Tigers, I said this before the game, the Tigers have a much better
they do
offense this year against left-handers. So that kind of worries me a little bit, I will say.
Yeah, so they have changed things a little bit. But, yeah, it's still a harder matchup. You and I were looking at data before the game. Texas, who's Cleveland is facing, currently has one player on their roster who has a WRC plus of 100 or better. They have one player on their roster with the WRCS, I believe, above 90 or better. I think everyone else is in the 80s. That could be wrong. Maybe it's 95 or better, but it's 95 or better. But they're struggling. They have a lot. It's one of the deepest injured lists you'll see in baseball. I will say their pitching is quite good, but yeah, it's
especially in the bullpen.
Yeah, I don't think there's a team in baseball though that would rather have a home game versus the Rangers as opposed to being on the road in Boston. So
I think everyone's taken this matchup for
yes.
If you had to pick one of the two. And I also want to point this out too. Like, given, like I said, where the Guardians have been all year, I think they're going to be excited for the chance to clinch a playoff spot at home. They know they have a lot on the line. They know they've come back this far. They don't want to come all this way to come up short. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be energized. They're going to be pumped up. And, the crowd, the fans have to be part of it too. Let's be honest. Like, that's not just some trope they put out there for customer service. Like, if you're an athlete, you feed off that energy. You love looking out at the crowd and hearing them and building the adrenaline off of that. So they're going to be pumped up to have a chance to clinch a playoff spot in front of their home crowd, which I'm trying to think the last time they did that, because did they clinch at home in 24? Because 2022 they clinched on the road. 2018, I'm not going to count 2020 because
I'm really bad about remembering things like this.
Yeah.
This is not my wheelhouse.
Someone comment below.
Yeah, this is not my
memory.
Information.
So I know 100% for sure they clinched at home in 2018 because I was there with my dad. Funny story about that too. My dad and I went to the game in 07 when we thought they were going to clinch the division. They lost. They won the next day and clinched the division. So we didn't get to see him clinch at home. And that didn't happen again because 13 they had to clinch in Minnesota. 16 they clinched in Detroit. 17 they clinched on the road because they were just hammering the heck out of everybody. And then 18 they clinched at home. So I don't remember if they did in 24. It was just a year ago. So you think I would remember what they did a year ago, but I remember all the other ones. So that's where my brain is. But
that's just not how my mind works. Like that's the bit of it. I couldn't have told you a single year where they clinched. Not one in my life. That's just not something that sticks with me. So I'm sure there's people who have that stuff. So definitely comment below. And they're probably like, how are you going to say? And you don't know that. But, we all have different things that stick in our head in different ways. That's just one of those things that does not, for whatever reason, vibrate with me.
I think they clinched at home last year. I think it was, it was against the Twins. They had that walk-off against the Twins, and that was the end of it last year, I think, because the Twins were constantly victims of the Guardians' walk-offs the last couple of years because I think their announcer was like, and I think we've seen enough of the Cleveland Guardians. That might have been 2022. I don't remember. The point is, I think this team is going to be charged up to play over the weekend. They just have to go out there with the same mentality they've had the entire month, and you're going to have a good shot. I mean, do I want to use Gavin Williams on Sunday? No, I don't. I'd like to have him. But you want to know what? I also want to be in the playoffs. So whatever happens, you're going to put your best foot forward. You got to take 2 out of 3. All right, we're going to talk about this game a little bit, and then we're going to move on to the Texas series. So we'll talk about what went right for the Guardians, what went wrong. There was more wrong than right. We're also going to talk about what the Guardians got to do to take care of business against the Rangers this weekend. So stick around for all of that on this episode of Locked On Guardians.
What do you get when you get a bald eagle sitting on top of a silverback gorilla riding the good old T-Rex? Confidence. I have so much confidence, I just ripped the arm off of my chair here to get the T-Rex out. Pure confidence. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rouget Go Long. Rouget Go Long. That's exactly where this comes in. It isn't just an ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. It combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can go get hard and go the distance. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to RUGIET.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you.
All right, thanks for being here with us on today's episode of Locked On Guardians as Jeff tries to put his computer chair back together. Appreciate the support all season long. This has been a crazy run. Hard to believe this is the last regular episode of Locked On Guardians. So either next week we'll be back talking about playoffs or whatever else.
We're talking playoffs.
We're talking playoffs.
Nothing else is acceptable.
There might be something over the weekend. Like I said, if they clinch over the weekend, I'll go live from the stadium. Speaking of, if you want to see that live episode or whatever we're going to call it over the weekend when they clinch, you want to hit the bell on YouTube so it gets sent right to your phone, the notification when it happens. And you can auto download an audio as well, so you never miss any episode in your feed. And MLB Squad Show is back this week today on Friday. You can get that too because we'll be talking playoffs over there. I'll be on, and you'll want to get the full playoff picture from all of Locked On's MLB hosts. All right, this game did start off a little inauspiciously, I will say, or is it auspiciously? What's the right version of that?
Inauspiciously, I believe, is the correct one in this situation.
Words
Not
hard
good.
when podcasting. This is what I say. Okay, so yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, it looked like the same thing that kind of plagued Tanner early in the game on Wednesday. It was he was getting ahead of hitters, and then they kept trying to get him to chase, would lose a little bit of command or control. And Jahmai Jones was down 0-2. Messick had him, and then he went back to 3-2, and then he hung him, or he put a sinker middle, and it got smoked, or was it a slider? I can't remember. He threw Wenzel Perez's pitch was also middle. I think his was a sinker.
Well, they were all like low middle. They were low,
yeah.
But they were just teeing off on that pitch, like low and touching the corner. Like they just want quality pitches.
I want to say it was the slider that Riley Green hit, and then it was definitely a sinker and a changeup that Perez and Jones took deep. So that wasn't great either. Outside of that, I thought Messick was
the last home run was on a sinker, but I could be very wrong on that.
Maybe I thought it was a breaking ball, just the way I looked at it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What really matters is it was 3 bad pitches. I know he gave the other RBI single. I thought the ball also bounced the Tigers' way quite a bit. They had a couple of bloop hits. The Guardians made an error too. I think that an error ended up not costing them, throwing error from Jose Ramirez, but the ball just went their way. And I think things were due to even out a little bit. At the end of the day, as much as you want to talk about baseball and controlling what you can control and having control of your own destiny and taking care of business, sometimes things, they just even out. That's just what happens in baseball. The Tigers have been really bad lately, but they did some good things. The Guardians, you're right, it was a sinker, by the way, to Riley Green. So good call on that one. That was a middle sinker. It was even a guy like who doesn't lefties like Riley Green.
Riley Green struggled this year, but the rest of that lineup is, as you've said many times, actually hits lefties pretty well. Everyone else, and Jones, of course, does. That's the whole reason he's there.
Yeah, this was not a particularly great matchup. I thought what would save Messick was they haven't seen him before, but he wasn't sharp. Like he had a lot
of those guys had seen him in AAA though. Like I think when he wasn't, like guys had rehab assignments, he's actually seen quite a few of these guys have faced him before.
Well, on that note, same for the Guardians and Troy Melton too, which is Valera and
I don't know if Valera did, because Valera's like kind of had the late return, and
that's a good point. Rocchio and
Rocchio and
Noel
Kafis and Noel should
Yeah.
have all seen him though.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter at that point because Noel didn't even face Trey Melton in this one.
Though Kafis did do well against him, so
yeah, Kafis had a great night, and that's the thing right now is that I didn't think Parker was bad. He threw 3 bad pitches. I thought those are the home run balls, right? Everything else,
he did end the streak, so they don't own it outright. They're tied with the 1917 White Sox now. It started with a lefty and it ends with a lefty. You got Allen and Messick on the lefty bookends.
Yeah. It is what it is. It would have been nice though for the offense to pick them up because this entire stretch, they're what did I say? They're 17-3 in the last 20 games. It would have been nice if the offense picked up the pitching because the pitching has picked up the entire streak, especially that 19-game streak where they didn't allow more than 2 runs of a starter. Would have been nice if the offense was like, you know what, we'll do the heavy lifting.
Hedges was trying.
Yeah, on a night where Austin Hedges gets 2 hits, man, I'd be like, you know what, we gotta win when that happens. But Quan was over. Jose only had the 1 hit, which did drive in a run.
But he also had a walk.
Late. He did it well. That was intentional, but yeah,
I know.
And Manzardo, that to me, that's the biggest thing going in the weekend. Is 2 guys have to step up this weekend. You need Quan to be really good against Texas. You need Manzardo to be really good. Those to me are the 2 keys coming this weekend. Those guys got to heat up, and they got to heat up starting tonight.
Yeah, I mean they've been it's like early season again, right? They've been winning when Quan has good games. That's what we talked about early on. Manzardo has, after his superheater, he has come back to earth. In the month of September, he's like basically has league average WRC plus. He's like 9th on the team. I'll say this though, bash Hedges at your own risk. He's got a 111 WRC plus in this month, not counting today. It's only going to go up. He's actually been really productive in September. If you go and you look, he's had a hit and he's getting on base in almost every game he's starting in right now.
I thought it was kind of weird. I knew Troy Melton wasn't going to go that long, although he pitched longer than we would have liked because he pitched well. I thought it was kind of weird that Bo Naylor didn't start, but then I realized, well, as soon as Melton comes out, they're going to go to Herter. They're going to go to Horton. So they would rather, or Holton, I should say. So they would have rather had Hedges in and then pinch hit for Bo Naylor once they had a chance with the lefties out of the game, which is what they did late, but he only got 1 plate appearance because of it. But it didn't matter because Hedges played a great game. By the way, Hedges, that throw down to second base, I think it was Perez who was trying to steal. He cut down. I don't know how consequential. Right. Man, that throw. I mean, it was his best pop time all season, 184. And it was his hardest throw, was 85 miles an hour. Both of those were season highs. So you could tell these guys are stepping up their performance. They know how important each play is. And Hedges stepped it up there. And I don't know if you listened to Foul Territory, but Slade Ciccone was on Foul Territory, and he mentioned that after the 10-game losing streak, the team had a closed-door meeting, all these famous closed-door meetings, right? Players-only meeting. Hedges said to the team, when we turn this around, this will be the story you tell, that we turned it around and got back to where he wanted to be. It'll be after this 10-game losing streak. Everybody will point back to this meeting and say, this is when it started. And I don't think it started right then because obviously they played good out of the All-Star break, and then they had a little blip, and then August was good but not great, and then they took off obviously in the month of September. But hey, that just tells you this group has never stopped believing in themselves. They're not going to panic. They're not going to let things down. I said last week, I was like, oh, man, if they swept Detroit, I don't want to have a letdown against Minnesota. Well, they didn't. And then I thought, oh, can they really take 2 series in a row from Detroit? And they did. And you just set out the air before this. You would have taken 2 out of 3 against Detroit if you had told that ahead of time.
It's funny they keep losing the ones you most expect them to win. That's the humor of it.
Which we also said, didn't we?
Yeah. But and I'm going to keep going back to it because to me, it's probably the most true statement I've made all year. And it's probably the best thing maybe I've said on the show. It's like, you keep winning series, you'll make the postseason. And you win this series, you take 2 out of 3, you're in, and Houston's out. Like, you need 2 wins for the postseason, 3 for the division. Right. So you literally just need to win this series and you're in the postseason. If you sweep a struggling Texas team, you win the division.
Celebrating. Absolutely. All right, we'll talk about what the Guardians need to do to take the series from Texas. We'll talk about some scoreboard watching as we wrap up the final regular season episode of 2025 Locked On Guardians. Stay with us. Now, I know you're all watching Thursday night football. You're watching Sunday night football. You're watching Monday night football. Season's been crazy. FanDuel is making sure you're ready for every kickoff with a can't miss offer. If you are a new customer and you've been looking to get into the game on FanDuel, if you put down $5 and that bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the entire FanDuel app. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Best offer I've ever seen. This is the most bonus bets I've ever seen FanDuel do for a new customer. So if you still think the Guardians are going to win the division, which the odds are pretty good because I checked the other day, I tried to put some money down and I could only win like a couple of bucks. But that made me feel like, hey, it might be a really good bet. So if you're a new customer and you want to put that down, you want to feel good about that cash in, if you haven't done it, you get $300 that you can use responsibly during the postseason. That's not even technically your own money. So that sounds fun to me. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, final segment of the final regular season edition in 2025 of Locked On Guardians. Still very hard to believe that, but we appreciate each and every one of you that have stuck with us all season long. We appreciate all the newcomers too that have been blowing it up in terms of the numbers the last couple of weeks as this fun run continues, and I expect that to be the case as we go into next week and we start talking playoff previews. I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to call my shot, Jeff. The Guardians, they are going to win the AL Central. It is going to happen. The Guardians are going to take 2 or 3 from the Rangers. The Red Sox are going to take 2 or 3 from the Tigers. That is what I'm calling right now. If you want more insights like that, you can join our insiders group at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians for some early info, bonus content, and we do meetups virtually every couple of weeks or months as well. And we'll do one on Monday when we talk Guardians playoff preview. We're keeping the vibes positive. You want to start with scoreboard watching, Jeff, or do you want to start at home with what the Guardians need to do? I think we should start at home. Jeff doesn't really know. He's speechless. He's not sure which way to go.
I say I'm fine with that. Let's start at home.
All right, let's start at home. So pitching matchups as of now, the Rangers have not announced who is going to start on Saturday or Sunday. All we know is on Friday night tonight, it'll be Slade Cecconi and Jack Leiter. That's going to be tough. Jack Leiter is pretty good. So the biggest thing for the Guardians though is they want to get the lead before the Rangers go to the bullpen. That bullpen is pretty good, and they've got a couple lefties out there too. They got Danny Coulombe, who's been good, Robert Garcia, who's been solid, and then they got 2 ex-Guardians out there, and Sean Armstrong,
been really good of late.
Phil Maton. Yeah, so get the lead before you get into the bullpen. They're not going to see Jacob deGrom. Pitching, I feel like the pitching should be fine.
DeGrom's been their worst pitcher in the month of September by FIP.
Oh,
so maybe if it would have been good to face, because he hasn't thrown over 100 innings in like 5 years. So I think he just ran out of steam. So
yeah, that's true. I don't know. We'll see what happens. The Rangers offense, like we just talked about, not very good. There's no Wyatt Langford. There's no Corey Seager. There's no Marcus Semien.
No,
right?
If you could name 4 guys in their lineup, comment below.
Yeah, I would say after the 5 spot in their lineup, it's pretty weak. Jock Peterson has not been that great this year.
You're giving away names.
Oh, yeah. He's fallen off a cliff, but I think everybody should know that name at this point. He's fallen off a cliff this year, and I know he was on a heater. Again, this Rangers team is not the same team that swept the Guardians in Texas, and this Guardians team is not the same team that got swept in Texas. I mean, my gosh, that was... when did they play Texas? That was about a month ago. It was the middle of August. They played terribly. That was one of the games they lost 10-0. Logan Allen pitched terribly. They got shut out. They lost on a walk-off. Cade Smith. That was Cade Smith. One of Cade Smith's was that one of his first save opportunities?
No. His first save opportunity was the blown one against Colorado, where if they lose the division by one game, I'm gonna rue. Yeah. Kate Smith.
No, I meant after the non-disciplinary action against the
Yeah,
closer
the
who
first
not
one was
hitting.
against Colorado. It was back in July. The first save opportunity was the blown one against Colorado in the first game of that
Really?
series.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, because it was before the All-Star break or before the trading deadline. Duh, I don't
Yes.
know where I've been. So Kate Smith lost the first game in Texas in the extra innings.
And that
They
was
got shut
back-to-back
out.
blown saves, right? Like, because that was the Arizona game,
Yes.
and then he turned around and blew the
Yes.
next game. That was like kind of the low point for him.
And they fell back to they fell under 500 in that series against the Rangers. So and since then the Rangers have been pretty awful. So
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's going to be. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying the Guardians are going to take 2 or 3 easily and don't have to worry. Like this is going to be tough. Like it's, the Rangers, they're out of it. They're playing. They're playing for spoil. They want to go out on a good note and try to have a little bit of something to play for. They have pride, but hey, nothing. What do they say? Nothing worth doing is easy. And this whole run for the Guardians to get back to this position has not been easy. So why should this be any different? Why should they handle this any different, as we've been saying? But yeah, just get through the top part of the order. Rowdy Tellez has had a good month for them. Match up well. Just the rotation.
Not really. I mean, he's still got like an 88 WRC plus. They literally only have one dude over 100.
I was looking the last 14 days. Sorry.
Yeah, but in the last 14, I don't like
the month of September. It's Alejandro Osuna, and that's it.
And that's
Everybody
it.
else,
and that's just purely league average. The other side of this too is they are not incentivized to play well this weekend. Let's be really honest, because they're in a world where if they get swept, they have, and San Francisco has a good weekend, they could end up in the top 10 again, because I'm just going to throw this out there for teams that are drafting. Colorado has the 10th pick, Washington 11, and the Angels 12. Those teams can't move up. So for teams that are on the fringes, like St. Louis, Kansas City, Texas, these teams could have a huge jump up in terms of where they pick in the draft because of those draft rules. So I do think, though, we'll probably see Merrill Kelly. They traded for him. He's a free agent to be. Might as well run him out there. But they one of the big stories when Texas was hot, when Cleveland faced them, was like the kiddies, right? The young kids. And development isn't linear. We say that all the time as well. And they had a hot stretch. They cooled down, and it just hasn't been there. You got to take care of business, and it's probably going to be low scoring games. If we're talking about
that's how it's been
sponsor.
This whole run.
So it's the whole thing of this is, hopefully the starting pitching will kind of remain as good as it's been. The bullpen will remain as good, and they'll eke out enough offense to get it done. But it's that thing, right, where like both teams are going to try to eke out offense. Both offenses, and I know people were like, "Oh, Cleveland's offense is anemic." Texas has one guy with the WRC plus in the month of September over 100 who's currently healthy. The other guy is Wyatt Langford. Cleveland has 9. Like, guys have been hitting in the month of September for this team. 9 players with a WRC plus over 100. Cleveland's 10th best one is Noel in the like 83, who would be 6th best on the Rangers. So it's like Cleveland's got to win this. This should be go away. I really don't want 2005 all over again here. They just got to go.
Don't even say it. I was not even going to say it. I was
take care of business against a bad team. Like,
yeah, I wasn't.
The offense has been. I know people will be like, offense is still terrible, but it's actually been solid in September. Like, they're just going to have to go in and be the better team, which they are.
They are the better team. I think that's very true at this point. I will give you a bit of a counterpoint, though. I know you said they're incentivized to lose. That comes from the top. Now, that would be the front office and the manager deciding not to play certain guys. The players that are on the field, they want to win.
Well, they always play, yes.
They don't give a crap about the draft pick, who most of them won't be around to see play. So the players in the field are going to try to win. Now it's management. They'll decide who to put in and when, if they do care about that. Saturday, it is Merrill Kelly and Joey Cantillo. I was just looking. The Rangers are pretty rough against left-handed pitchers. So 74 WRC plus against lefties for the season. That's only the active roster. So unlike the Rangers, or unlike the Tigers, I should say, they don't hit lefties. Well, righties, it's a 90 WRC plus. So it's very below average across the board. On Sunday, possibly Gavin Williams and Patrick Corbin. The Guardians have to face the lefty on Sunday. But ideally, the Sunday doesn't matter for the Guardians. Ideally, they've already clinched a playoff spot. And I'll tell you this. No matter what playoff spot they have clinched, Gavin Williams is not going to pitch Sunday. As long as they have a playoff spot clinch, whether it's wild card or division, Gavin Williams will not be pitching on Sunday. The only way he pitches Sunday is if they have to win to get in. Otherwise, he's not pitching. They're not going to use him to go for the division. They're going to use him for game 1 of the wild card series, no matter what. As for rooting interest, I'm positive. I feel pretty strongly about that.
There's two sides of it, like getting home field, and then the monetary advantages of home field, as well as just the advantages of home field. And the home field
I think they're just going to try to, if they have a spot clinch, I think they're going to try to put their best foot forward in game 1. And because if you use Gavin Sunday, you can't use Gavin at all in the first round.
But if you trust your overall pitching and how well they pitch, they might.
Well, you have to go to a lefty in game 3 if you don't anyway. So do you want to have to throw 2 lefties or Slade Ciccone? I don't know.
I guess it depends who you're looking like you're matched up with.
Well, right now it looks like the Tigers, and I don't think you want to go with a lefty against the Tigers. We saw how that just worked out. Although Cantello was good last week, so maybe it was an off night. As far as scoreboard interest, the only thing I can say is you want Skubal to pitch Sunday. No matter what, you want the Tigers to be in a position where they have to pitch Skubal on Sunday. You want Boston, I think, to beat the Tigers. I don't know about I don't feel good about the Astros, truthfully, losing because they're playing the Angels. And I just looked at the Angels rotation for the weekend, and it's crap. It is literal crap. Like, I'm pretty confident there's somebody listening to this podcast, I don't know who, that might be as qualified to pitch this weekend as any of the Angels pitchers. Like, it's literal poop.
Well, it's not literal, because then that would mean it was,
It's literal poop. I'll give it to you real quick.
I know it is. Dana has been good this year.
Kyle Hendricks
had a good first half. Did he fall apart?
Dana and Sam Aldeguer. I know Dana's a prospect they really like. They're playing Houston. I don't know. The Angels suck. I have no faith in them. I could easily see Houston sweeping. So Cleveland's got to take care of business.
I guess yeah.
And you got to root hard for him.
Dana has been terrible this year. My fault.
He's a prospect they like, but he's really god awful. He hasn't really lived up to it yet. So the Guardians got to take 2 or 3 no matter what. And then the Tigers need to lose 2 or 3 to Boston. That's all it is. So, all right. If they win, if they clinch a playoff spot Friday or Saturday, I will go live. I'll try to get Jeff to go with me on YouTube. So look for that. We'll be back on Monday. We'll talk Guardians Rangers wrap up, and we'll talk playoff preview. We're staying with it.
And again, I want to throw out, we haven't had an iTunes review in the month of September. So if you are inclined, go put one of those down. And if you're a hater, guess what? A positive or negative review helps us. So thank you to anyone who leaves a review. We appreciate each and every one of you, though. Thank you for joining us. It is a fun time right now. Thank you all. And go, Guardians, go.
Playoffs?